This episode of Gators Breakdown is brought to you by MyBookie. It's the big game this weekend, Super Bowl Sunday. Make your first deposit at mybookie.ag. Use promo code Gators. Wager your first deposit amount once, and you're eligible to cash out. Cash in and cash out quick at MyBookie.
Want more Gators Breakdown? Join Gators Breakdown Plus. Want more Gators Breakdown? Join Gators Breakdown Plus. Want more Gators Breakdown? Join Gators Breakdown Plus. Starting at $3 a month. Get access to unique episodes, plus a blog, chat room, giveaways, shout-outs, and more. Gators Breakdown Plus is furthering the interaction with fans and listeners like you. Head to gatorsbreakdown.supportingcast.fm to join Gators Breakdown Plus today. Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC. Special episode tonight, of course, joined by co-host Will Miles. And hey, class of 2023, we wrapped it up last week, and it is time to turn the page to the class of 24, and no better way to do that than get the headliner of the class. Quarterback DJ Lagway is joining us right here on this episode of Gators Breakdown, fresh off of a workout. So on the way home after the workout, joining us right here on Gators Breakdown. Will, we got a special one here.
Hey man, you know the quarterback's where the money's made, so it's good to have DJ in the fold. And thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all for having me. Thank y'all.
DJ, has it slowed down any for you yet, committing to Florida and all the love you're getting from Gator Nation?
Oh, no, sir. No, sir. It hasn't slowed down at all. I'm loving it and enjoying it. I appreciate everybody that showed love.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you on board. And hey, look, it wasn't just a couple of weeks ago. You were on a recent visit to Florida, getting back on campus, getting around some fellow 2024 recruits, even some future 25 and 26 guys in the swamp as well. Take us through that. I mean, you got the special photo shoot. You got to connect with, he was about to commit, linebacker Darius Hayes. Take us back to your recent trip to Gainesville. And look, I'm going to show some of that video and some of the photos that you took. But it was kind of a special trip for you to get to know some guys better, getting to know the coaching staff better, and have some fun along with it.
Yes, I had a great time. Just building relationships with the recruits. That was huge, and I just really enjoyed my time there, being back in the swamp, and I can't wait to get back.
Explain that photo shoot to us. We see the big LED board, and you got all the special photos that go along with it. If I'm not mistaken, you were the first one to be able to get your photos taken with that nice new video board.
Yes, sir. It was insane. I've never really just seen something like that in person. It was pretty different. I've never seen that before, and I was blessed and honored to be the first one to use it.
You think it's going to help Florida? What was the conversations like with the fellow recruits and getting to see that new technology there, and other guys now being able to take advantage of it?
They really didn't. They didn't know about it because like everybody kept it like a secret until I posted it. But
Okay.
When they seen the pictures and stuff, they was like, they were pretty hyped about it, and they can't wait to get back and try it.
So DJ, you've obviously committed pretty early to Napier in the cycle. A lot of guys end up waiting till either early signing day or even until national signing day to sign. What was it about Napier? What was it about the Florida program that made you decide that you wanted to pull the trigger, and honestly that you wanted to be one of the people helping recruit this 2024 class to Florida?
Because I just believe in what Coach Napier's doing offensively and just program-wide, and I'm just excited to be a part of it, and I just can't wait to get there and learn and just grow and excel in life there in Gainesville.
Is there something specific about the offense that really appeals to you? Is that's maybe different than some of the other programs you've been at or that you've explored?
Just really the way they use the quarterback position. They let you use your legs, let you throw the ball, and just really working, just knowing where to throw the ball at, and just knowing where the soft spots in the coverages, and just having different outlets to get the ball out. I feel like it's very different because a lot of teams just have one-way reads and just take off and run. So I feel like I'm learning a lot. I'll be learning a lot and just growing and getting ready for the NFL.
DJ, with that, take us back to the your recruiting process and you committing to Florida. When did you know it was Florida? Was it right away? And you visited for Friday Night Lights and other school, were other schools playing catch up the entire fall after that trip for Friday Night Lights? Of course, you took multiple visits to Texas A&M, Clemson, USC, got visits, but that was not long before you pulled the trigger to Florida. Did you take those visits knowing Florida was going to be the choice, or did it come down to the very end that day you made your commitment was when you chose Florida?
It kind of came down to the very end, you know what I mean? I just really wanted to make sure that's where God wanted me to be. So I've just really prayed about it and just took my time and made my decision. And I feel like I'm very quite confident in my decision.
Well, if we go to your play on the field, your stats really improved from your sophomore year to your junior year. And, I'm just sort of curious, what do you think specifically caused that leap? I mean, your completion percentage went up, your yards per attempt went up, obviously your touchdown interception ratio went up, and you saw that leap up to a 5-star candidate. What do you think was sort of what do you think you improved on that made you see that leap?
I feel like I improved a lot on my just decision making and just making right reads and just making the game simple instead of trying to really do too much. But I feel like my team, we're heading in the right direction. I really only played in 8 games, so I feel like next year we're going to take a big leap forward and just continue. I just want to continue to get better and grow as a quarterback.
DJ, I'll go back a little bit to when you did visit for Friday Night Lights, and I know you got to know Anthony Richardson a little bit there. And then I'm not mistaken, when you made your visit to Gainesville, I think you stopped by in Jacksonville where Anthony Richardson was training a little bit. So how much did you really focus on watching what he did this past fall in Billy Napier's offense, and also just continuing that relationship with him? Has he shared much about what you can expect in the Billy Napier offense?
Yes, sir. It played a big role. Just watching him operate in the offense this year, and I just see a lot of similar things that I do that he does as well. So I just really want to continue to learn from him and just learn the things he did well and learn the things he wants to improve on, so I can get there and work on it right away, so I don't have the same issues.
I mean, I guess, do you think, has there been anything communicated to you from the staff, or do you have expectations that you're going to be stepping in as a true freshman and competing for that job? Or do you think it's going to be a process in terms of getting you in, getting you ready, and sort of building into being the starting quarterback for the Gators?
Yes, sir. Most definitely. That's definitely the goal for me. I want to definitely come in right away and start. But I get better for that, so I can be ready for that. So I've just been working unconditionally, just grinding.
There we go. A little bit of connection issue. I think we're back right there. But DJ, of course, you go back to Florida's 2023 class, and they brought in a really good wide receiver core. Aiden Mazzell, Eugene Wilson, Andy Jean come in. Was that something you were looking at when you were looking at Florida and maybe getting to know those receivers just a bit? Or how close did you pay attention to the recruiting and maybe who you'll be playing with in your career at Florida?
Yes, sir. That played a big role. You know what I mean? Because you gotta have the guys around you, especially at the quarterback position, if you want to succeed. So that was a huge thing for me. Just having a place where I know I could be able to recruit players that players would want to come. So I'm just really excited to, just get those guys down to Gainesville, see how they like it. You know what I mean? And the guys that's there now, just really when I get there, build a relationship with them and just build that chemistry so we can dominate on the field.
Are there guys in the 2024 class, skilled players that you're in contact with, trying to bring the Gainesville there with you?
Oh, yes, sir. Most definitely. I've been talking to a lot of linemen, though, right now. That's my biggest focus, really trying to get that 4-5 so we can – because without those guys, you can't really do nothing. So I've been talking a lot to Blake Frazier out of Vandergrift, Texas. You know what I mean? He's a real good player. So I've been talking to him. That's what I've been talking to the most. He's a left tackle.
DJ, let's have fun with it right quick. I know you get this story in the NFL a whole lot. It's, the quarterback has a relationship with his offensive lineman, and he wants to buy them all a gift. So if you get to buy your offensive lineman a gift, what you going to give those guys?
It depends. I probably get them probably all you can eat steakhouse. You know what I mean? Take them to all you can eat. Just let them enjoy themselves. You know what I mean? Just build that camaraderie.
I thought you were going to say it was going to depend on how many times you got sacked.
I was going to go, yeah. I was going to say maybe bring some Texas barbecue with you.
Well, so DJ, I mean, obviously, you said you wanted to start when you come right in. There's a lot of pressure when you come in like that, being the guy, sort of the first 5-star recruit in Napier's class, or in Napier's era here at Florida. A lot of people are going to point to you as really sort of the turning point, or there's a lot of pressure. So how do you deal with that sort of pressure coming in? And is that something that you embrace? Is it something that you sort of have to keep at arm's length and just sort of keep the work going? Like, how do you deal with the pressure that's going to be coming with being starting quarterback of the Gators?
I kind of embrace it. You know what I mean? I really don't focus on all that. I just really try to go in every day, just trying to get 1% better in everything I do. You know what I mean? One step at a time, just take it one day at a time. That's really my biggest focus.
DJ, I know we talked about the recruiting process a little bit, and let's go to the staff just for a second. Tell us about Billy Napier, the man. We got to know him a bit as a coach this past year. Him as a person, a man in a relationship with you there, in trying to come, and recruit you to Florida, but also Ryan O'Hara. And I know this one maybe not known as much, but Joe Hamilton, I know, was huge in your recruitment there. So let the fan base know, because we don't get to see Joe Hamilton a whole lot. We don't get to see Ryan O'Hara a whole lot. We get to see Billy Napier and how he is. But what did Ryan O'Hara and I know Joe Hamilton played a huge role in this. What did those guys do in the recruitment for you to commit to Florida?
All three of those coaches, played a huge part of my recruitment. Just Coach Hamilton, just having that personal relationship with him, it's huge. Talk to him on a daily basis every single day. And then just Coach O'Hara, the way he knows the game is unreal. And I just want to continue to pick his brain and just learn from him. He knows the playbook in and out. And then Coach Napier, he's just a down-to-earth guy. So I love his personality. I love what he stands for. And I just really love everything they got going as a program. So I'm just really excited.
Hey, DJ, on that part, how much away from football were you looking for when you commit? I mean, I know football, that's priority number one, and that's what's going to go there. But what are you looking for that relationship outside of football as well?
Oh yes, sir, without a doubt, because I'm not playing football 24/7 down there. So I just really want to be at a place that I could, just have relationships with, be friends with, just be comfortable down there, especially since I'm be far away from home. So I just feel like that was huge.
What is it specifically that made you comfortable with Gainesville? I mean, you said it sort of came down to the last minute. Obviously, you're praying about it, trying to decide where God wants you to be. But is there one thing you can put your finger on that just sort of says, hey, this is why it was the right place for me to be?
Just the atmosphere the coaching staff brings. The atmosphere the coaching staff brings is different than I've been around a lot of staffs, and and they try to act like it's genuine, the love that they show. But the Florida coaching staff truly shows the genuine love that they give their recruits, and I felt it.
DJ, I know it was a hot topic the last few weeks there, and what was happening around Florida in the quarterback position. I know you set the record straight, but we'll get it here on Gators Breakdown as well. Did reclassifying ever really enter your mind of maybe jumping up a class, not this 24 class, but coming in early to this 23 class?
Oh no, sir, that never crossed my mind. I'm ready to finish out with my guys at high school. We still got a lot of stuff we want to accomplish there, and that I want to accomplish. So I'm just really excited for it.
So, I mean, I'm curious from a football perspective, who do you think your closest comp is? Is there somebody that you sort of pattern your game after, somebody that you look at from a film perspective and say, that's the guy I want to pattern myself after? Is it sort of multiple guys? I know Napier has talked in the past about having film for folks who are playing for him and trying to sort of lay those comps out there. I'm wondering who you have that you think is a good comp for your game.
Hey DJ,
I'd say
before you go in there now, 24/7 Sports has your comp as, I don't know how much you've watched him. They have your comp as Hendon Hooker, the Tennessee quarterback. So let us know if that's a little accurate before, and then you can go to Will's question.
I haven't really got into him that much to see, but I didn't really see him running the ball like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, he's a good player though. But I would say for me, I'd say NFL wise, I'd say Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. That's two I really look at and try to pattern my game after.
What is it about their game that you're trying to pattern? Is it the way they release it? Is it the way they're sort of improvising? Like, because those are two guys who obviously run quite a bit, but then improvise quite a bit off of it as well. What is it about those two that you sort of hone in on?
Just the way they make the game look easy, and just they really just take what they get. You know what I mean? And just really just have fun and be loose out there, and just use their talents and abilities that God gave them to the best of their abilities. So that's why I really like them.
DJ, on that, of course, looking at your game a bit, where do you want to improve? Where do you want to make your biggest improvement? Will talked about your improvement from your sophomore to your junior year, but when you're assessing your own game, where do you want to improve in your senior year?
I'm really trying to improve all over, but mainly just really just making the game slow down even more than it has. You know what I mean? I want to really make sure when I leave high school that I'm truly ready for college. You know what I mean? And just feel like I could be able to step in day one and play. So I just really want to this year just focus on just reading coverage, beating teams with my mind, and just really dissecting the defense.
I mean, can you sort of take us through a progression? What are you looking at when you come to the line of scrimmage? What are the things that when you come up to the line that you're trying to get better at? And then, have you seen defenses do post snap adjustments that you've had to adjust to at high school, or is that something you figure you're probably going to see more in college, but not necessarily at the high school level?
Yes, sir. Most definitely. I see that in high school a lot. You know what I mean? Especially just the talent level that we have in Texas high school, Texas football. You know what I mean? It's huge. So we got a lot of great athletes that I play against. But what I look at most when I get to the line, first I look at the safeties and see if it's middle or close. You know what I mean? So if I see middle, it either could be cover 2, cover 4, cover 6. So I really and then I read the cornerbacks. And then I read the cornerbacks, and then I read the defensive line and just the linebacker alignment, and that's how I really just tell what defense they're in and what fronts they're in and what coverage they're in.
DJ, how much do you want running to be part of your game? Obviously, it is, but would you rather throw for 300 and run for 20 yards, or would you rather throw for 200 and run for another 100? Is there a preference for how you want to play your game?
I'd rather run for 300 and I'd rather throw for 300 than run for 30. You know what I mean? I'm definitely a pass first guy, but I feel like I also can be explosive, and I want to be able to take it 75 yards to the house running if need be. You know what I mean?
So you did run less this last year. You only ran 50 times. I know you said you only played 8 games, but you ran 129 the year before. But you were a lot more effective. So it was more than 10 yards an attempt versus 5.5. Do you think that's more that you were able to keep your eyes open and go downfield and throw the ball, or did you make a conscious effort to run when the coverage dictated it versus having more designed runs? Maybe
this year was kind of different for me. You know what I mean? I battled through a lot of adversity. I had a high ankle sprain the whole year. So playing through that was very challenging. So it just taught me different ways of the game, just learning different ways how to win games.
DJ, one big question that I know has come up a little bit is the baseball angle. And I've heard, through the grapevine a little bit that it may not be as big of a focus as it's led to be, but we'll get the answer from you. I know you recently discussed it in another article. I forgot where I did read it, but get the kind of maybe the clarification on how important baseball is. Did it play a role in the commitment and your recruiting at Florida? How much of a focus do you plan on it being when in college?
It definitely played a role on my recruitment. You know what I mean? Being able to have a chance to play both sports in college if I wanted to, because I always had a love for baseball. You know what I mean? I still play it to this day, and I feel like I continue to get better at that every day if I work at that too. But like I just really want to focus on football first, and that's my main focus. Once I get football under control, and then maybe go out there and play some baseball. So that's my mindset about it.
Is your plan to enroll early? Maybe it's too early to decide, but is that sort of the plan to enroll early after early signing day, or to get a jump start on football?
I feel like as a quarterback, you have to, you know what I mean. But yes, sir, I'm definitely enrolling early. Yes, sir.
So a year from now, you'll be on campus getting ready for spring football.
Yes, sir.
You'll be
Yes,
starting
sir.
phase 2. You'll be starting phase 2 right now.
Yes, sir.
What's the thing you're most looking forward to about getting on campus and participating in that sort of thing?
Just are you talking about just the whole like college, like the football aspect, or just the off season?
Well, I mean, off season, I guess. I mean, what's the thing you look forward to? Maybe what's the thing you dread? I think that's always sort of, there's certain conditioning drills I know I always wanted to avoid. So,
Yeah.
what are you looking forward to when it comes to getting in there in the spring?
What I'm looking forward to is just to get stronger. You know what I mean? Just working on the things I need to work on individually as a quarterback and just as a player. And then what I dread in the way, like in off season, is mat drills. We do mat drills every day at my school, and I don't like it at all.
Well, at least you'll be somewhat prepared for it.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
DJ, speaking on that, what you going to major in? Let's get to know you a little bit. What do you plan on majoring in when you go to Florida?
I plan on majoring in business and finances. Yes, sir.
Any goal there for that? I mean, I hope you have so much success, and we're talking about a 20-year NFL career behind that. But maybe way down the road when DJ Lagway's not playing football anymore, what business what drives you about the business aspect?
I feel like you can't really go wrong with business, right? Like especially like because business is everywhere. So I feel like whatever I want to get into, I want to be like an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? Build something and have my own company. You know what I mean? And just know the business side of things and just be able to handle my money well. That's what the finance part of it. So that's my reasons for choosing those two.
Well, Florida's program certainly has some financial wellness things that they've built in, certainly with the addition of NIL and those sorts of things as well. Want to make sure people take care of the money that they do make. Those tools that they've put in place, is that something that they've communicated pretty extensively to you? Do you understand what all those are? And is that something they're using to sell the program as a reason why someone would want to come there?
Oh, yes, sir, without a doubt. You know what I mean? They preach education is big, you know what I mean? Definitely at University of Florida. It's the top 5 in the country, I believe. And I'm excited to get there and learn too. I just really want to learn from a lot of people, just meet a lot of people, just overall just network and just meet a lot of people.
DJ, I doubt it has, but has the recruiting slowed down any? Like, are the Aggies still calling? Is Clemson still calling? I mean, what's recruiting like for you right now? I know you committed to Florida, and all the other schools know that too. But I'm sure you're a very highly sought after, football player out there.
No, sir, it hasn't slowed down at all. You know what I mean? Schools still reach out every day and try to call every day. You know what I mean? I definitely respond back and talk to them, just being out of having respect for them in the program. You know what I mean? But I'm 100% locked in with Florida. But yes, sir, schools reach out every day.
So I'm curious, DJ, when Florida fans go and check out your huddle highlights or those sorts of things, what do you think they're going to zone in on in terms of the thing that you do well that they're going to look at and say, hey, that's our quarterback? Is there something specifically that you think they'll see in those highlight tapes that'll make them happy?
I'd say probably just the way the swag I play with, you know what I mean, with just having a little different type of style to my game, you know what I mean? Just yeah, that's really just hope they enjoy watching the highlight reel.
Well, I mean, the thing that jumped out to me was your release. Is that something that's natural, or have you honed that to get it shorter? It looks like it's a little bit shorter from your sophomore year to your junior year. But I mean, for anybody who hasn't gone and seen it, you need to go check it out. I messaged Dave earlier today. I said it reminds me a little bit of Dan Marino because you don't really come back very far. It sort of comes to your ear and the ball's out.
Yes, sir. It's always been natural. You know what I mean? Just me being a baseball player all my life, just knowing how to throw from different arm angles and just knowing when to do those type of throws and when not to. and just knowing when to get it out quick and when not to. Because especially this year, I had to learn how to get it out quick because of my injury, because I couldn't really move as well as I wanted to this year. So just really learning different things, different ways how to win games.
DJ, Florida's going to have a quarterback switch this year, and a quarterback, probably more a pocket passer, whether it be Graham Mertz or Jack Miller. It would definitely be a little different than what we saw from Anthony Richardson, who you probably more model your game after. So, what will you be looking at the Florida offense a bit different in a different lens because of maybe a different style of quarterback? What are you looking for in the offense this fall?
I'm just really looking to see how I can fit in it still. You know what I mean? Just really trying to learn the offense and just really pick up on little things so when I get there, so I could start rolling right away. But I'm just really excited to when I do get there, so I could compete and have fun and really just get to learn.
So you mentioned playing with a little bit of swag on your tape. I'm curious, what's more satisfying? Do you like hitting an open receiver because you made the right read, or is it more satisfying to fit one into a tight space where you're one of the only people who can do that and nobody else can?
I say tight space. You know what I mean? That's pretty. It's no better feeling than that. Like you almost throwing it through somebody and it just popped right in the receiver's hands. But that's a pretty cool feeling.
The good stuff. A couple more right here, DJ, and we'll let you go. Have you looked forward a little bit? We know Texas A&M's already in the SEC, but in 2025, here comes Texas in the SEC. So you're gonna have two home state schools in the conference. So hey, look, there might be a lot of trips to Texas when you're the quarterback for the Florida Gators in the coming years.
It's pretty neat how the SEC is evolving. You know what I mean? I just can't wait. So when I get there, you know what I mean, get playing and get rolling, be able to compete against teams I've watched my whole life growing up. It's going to be a dream come true.
I mean, are you expecting, or are your parents going to be able to get over there to Gainesville, catch all your games while you're playing? Obviously, that's a big reason why people might stay home. You're moving a little bit away from where you're at. Are they going to be able to get out there and watch you when you're playing for Florida?
Oh, yes, sir, most definitely. Not probably all of my family, like my intermediate family, but definitely my mom and my dad and my little brother. They'll definitely be at every game.
Sounds good. DJ, one question I ask all the players that I have right here on Gators Breakdown. This will be what I wrap up with, and then we'll give Will one more. Billy Napier's going to ask you to pick the uniform to run out of the tunnel with. So you get to pick whatever color helmet you want, whatever color jersey you want, whatever color pants you want. Orange, blue, white. You're picking the jersey combo running out of that tunnel. What you going with?
I'm going with the orange helmet, all blue uniforms. All blue uniforms, orange helmet.
DJ, we call those the big game blues.
Okay. Big game blues.
He's ready for LSU, Dave. He's ready for LSU.
That's right. And it does seem we were in a lot of versus LSU. Yep. So yeah, the big game blues.
Yeah, I like that big game blue.
So I just got one more for you, DJ. You said you got to the Swamp a couple of times this year against LSU and Kentucky. So obviously not the result that we wanted, but what'd you take away from that? What was your favorite part of the stadium, the fan experience, all that sort of stuff? Is there something that stuck out to you about being there?
The fan experience is different. I've been to a lot of schools like LSU and Bama, etc. But like Florida fans are different. You know what I mean? They truly love some Florida football, and I definitely, that's what makes me wants to go there. You know what I mean? Even if I went to the games and they lost, you know what I mean? Just really showing me how much they truly care about the football aspect, and I just definitely want to give them the happiness that they so rightly deserve because they been there through thick and thin.
DJ, I still remember that first visit for you on campus and all the signs hanging around and all the paintings of welcoming you to Gainesville. So I'm glad it paid off.
I appreciate it. That was awesome.
DJ, anything you want to let Gator Nation know, man, before we let you go?
Just know that once I step on campus, y'all gonna get a hard worker. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna get it back to where it used to be.
Sounds good. That's Gators 2024 quarterback commit DJ Lagway joining us right here on Gators Breakdown. DJ, man, I can't thank you enough. Thanks, and we'll have to do it again down the road.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks, DJ.
Okay.
All right, Gators quarterback commit DJ Lagway joining us right here on Gators Breakdown. Well, that was good. That was good. I know like I said, if we had a little bit of mix up in the time change difference there. We caught him right after a workout there. So I'm glad he made the time for us there. But I'm ready to see that number 2 in the swamp.
Hey man, I told you before we came on, like it's, obviously people accuse me of being negative, and maybe they're right in some respects, but you can't watch his tape and go anything other than just start smiling when you see the way he throws. I mean, seriously, go check his release. It's ridiculous. And he made one throw. I sent you a GIF earlier tonight or earlier today where he just sort of looks to his left. The ball's out before you even see it. It goes over the linebacker and under the corner. And you're like, whoa, like that's something we haven't seen in a while. And, that ball for the past, 10 years has just gone sailing out of bounds, at least other than when Kyle Trask was a quarterback. So,
hey, he's got another Texas quarterback. So
he's got a stronger arm than Trask, though. It's the ball pops out of his arm. So I think people are going to be really happy when he comes in. Obviously, a lot of work to be done to get to where he needs to get. But he's a 5-star. He's a 5-star candidate for a reason, a legitimate 5-star quarterback, and obviously a big get for Billy Napier. And based on our experiences here, really, really nice kid who's going to come in and help contribute to the culture and the environment that Napier's trying to build here in Gainesville.
Yeah, going on that part of it, and that was absolutely what I heard throughout his commitment. The person behind the scenes who helped me set this up, just told me just how much he loved Florida and just how much the connection was there. It was really, and I know it sounds cliche at times, but it was really more about football for DJ Lagway and his family, and going and committing with Billy Napier and this staff. And as I said, I know it all comes down to football. We know that, but there is a culture that needs to be changed there in Gainesville based off the last couple of years. And starting last year with Billy Napier and changing that. And look, it went a long way in getting the commitment of DJ Lagway. And look, he was pretty clear about that. Not just Billy Napier, but Ryan O'Hara and Joe Hamilton as well. But that really, the relationship part of it really seems like it stuck home there for DJ Lagway.
Well, I just enjoyed that you asked, or I asked him, I think, who he was recruiting. I expected it to be wide receivers. He's like, nah, left tackle. I'm like, all right, he gets it. Like keep him on his feet and he's going to do well. So, that was a really interesting interview. He seems like a good kid. I'm excited to get him into Gainesville. Obviously, it's a little bit like Christmas, where it's like the day after Christmas. You sort of sit there going, "Oh, I got to wait for next Christmas to open up the gifts." But certainly, he's got another year of high school. It'll be really interesting to see whether he's able to build on that jump that he made from his sophomore to junior year. Like he mentioned, he had a high ankle sprain, missed a few games last year, and then was playing hurt in some of those games as well. But there was a significant jump in all the statistical categories. And even his rushing yards. I mean, he ran for 517 yards on 50 carries. So, even though he wasn't taking off as often, he was really effective when he was taking off. So I'm really interested to see what he does the senior year of high school, how he's able to improve. And then, certainly glad to hear he's coming in early for spring practice next year and has expectations to be the starter. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe it won't happen, but it's good to hear he's got those expectations.
Yeah. I mean, the Hendon Hooker comp that was the first time I saw that today. And I know you follow Hendon Hooker a lot. He was, Will, you have a connection to Virginia Tech, went grad school there, right? Is that right? Okay. Yeah. So he follows Virginia Tech, not as close as Florida, but, does there. And so knew about Hendon Hooker. And then of course we followed him the last couple of years at Tennessee. I mean, hey, if we get that, especially this past year, Hendon Hooker, and that type of production, absolutely sign me up in a heartbeat. But yeah, I do think he is a little different there. I do, and DJ kind of alluded to that. Maybe he could run a bit better, run a bit more than Hendon Hooker. Hooker, while slippery, you wouldn't compare him to Anthony Richardson's running style, from what we just saw from the two quarterbacks that went head to head this past year. So he can run, but different running style. And I think DJ's probably a little more explosive in that right as well.
Yeah. I'm not sure I'd compare Lagway to Anthony Richardson either when it comes to running.
Right.
I think Richardson's sort of in a league of his own.
Correct. There you go.
But I agree that the Hooker comp is probably not the one that I would make. Hooker has a relatively long release and he gets enough on the ball, but there's a reason why Hooker, even before the ACL injury, wasn't necessarily seen as like a top NFL draft pick. It's because when you got to throw that out from the far hash, can you get it there? And Hooker's one of those guys, though, who was always able to read the defense and get it to the right guy. And so I think Lagway is more physically gifted than Hooker. The question will be, is he able to process information as fast as Hooker? So, that's where nerding out a little bit, where he's talking about looking at the safeties, understanding whether it's an open or closed formation. Like, all right, like, hey, like that's a good thing that he's already, again, open or closed middle of the field. It's not rocket science, but you get guys coming out of high school offenses sometimes who haven't had the opportunity to read defenses, make adjustments post snap, those sorts of things. But he did remind me that Texas is a different breed of high school football. Right. So if you got a kid from Texas or Florida or California, chances are you're going to have a quarterback who steps in and already knows if nothing else, the basics of how you read a defense. But that's what's going to, that's the thing that's going to put them apart from an arm talent perspective, from a release perspective. I mean, again, I think I said it, but I look at it and I see Dan Marino in terms of how quickly the ball gets out and how much zip it's got on it with very little, it's almost like a catcher who never brings their arm behind their body. They just sort of snap it. Like when you watch him, that's what you see. It's a really quick release. So like, years ago we watched Tebow throw the ball and he has that big loop. There's none of that. There's no big loopy release. It's up to his ear and out. Again, like, so then it comes back to, are you able to read the defense? And that's something that he's going to prove over time. But I think, one of the ways that I've always metriced that when I look at high school competition is I look at completion percentage. And so he completed 67% of his passes last year, averaged 10.4 yards per attempt. That's a profile, especially with his recruiting profile as well, that, you're probably, that's first round pick potential. And so Florida has a guy coming in who has the ability to potentially be a first round draft pick. Obviously he's going to have to work and he's going to have to develop and he's going to have to prove it out on the field to do that. But he has that kind of capability. And, this isn't a kid who's like going to be a good high school or a good college player, but won't be able to hack it in the pros because he's got a limited skill set. This is a guy who has all the skills to be a pro quarterback. And then it'll just be a question of, can he put it all together at Florida?
Yeah. Also, the biggest thing is he's not going to be playing in a Josh Heupel offense either. So that'd be one of the bigger differences in comparing those two quarterbacks right there. So yeah, everybody, if you like that interview there with DJ Lagway, hit that like button. That really helps us out there. Subscribe if you haven't done so yet. We got straight to the interview there at the beginning of this episode. So all your support there with the likes and subscribes right here on the YouTube version goes a long way there. So Will and I will wrap up. We'll do a little more class of 24 talk before we sign off on this episode of Gators Breakdown. But of course, it is the big game. Big game is Sunday. And at MyBookie, you asked for it and they listened. MyBookie designed a unique deposit bonus that lets you cash in and cash out quick. This is a unique deposit bonus for sports bettors who want to focus on what to bet and not a payout sweat. Make your first deposit only with promo code Gators. Wager your deposit amount once, and you're eligible to cash out. If you want a sports book that gives you the most for your money, bet on the big game with MyBookie. Pre-game, live lines, Super Bowl props. Bet everything from the opening coin toss, the length of the national anthem, to the color of the Gatorade dumped on the winning coach. Look, I can't really tell you who's going to win the Super Bowl, but I can tell you where to place your bets, and that is at MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere at MyBookie. All right, there we go. Well, let's take a look at the class of 24. We've done this a little bit, but 4 commits so far there for the Gators. 3 in the top 60, basically there with Lagway, Graham, Hayes, and then right at 278 running back Chauncey Bowen, who, as I said before, I expect to kind of raise through the rankings a bit and all the interest he's garnering lately. But off to a great start, one of the best starts Florida has had to a recruiting class in quite some time. Much different than Billy Napier's first year, of course. I mean, look, as I said, he's had a year to build the relationships now, a year to get to know these players, and all that has paid off to a great start. A quarterback, 2 linebackers, a running back right here. So, Will, something I noticed here, and I wanted to go back and look at this, is the 2 linebackers here, Miles Graham, Adarius Hayes. And when was the last time Florida had 2 linebackers in a class like this. And if you go to 2013, you go to Alex Anzalone and Daniel McMillan in the class of 13. Both those guys come in. And look, if you count Miles Graham, how important is he, Will? Right now, he would be the 4th highest rated linebacker Florida has ever signed in the 24/7 Sports Composite rankings. So let you know just how high Miles Graham is. But behind him are the 2013 signees of Alex Anzalone and Daniel McMillan. So Adarius Hayes, they have him listed as an edge, but they've kept his ranking as a 61 there on 24/7, 55 on 3. But this would be the best duo linebacker in the same class since that 2013 class of Alex Anzalone and Daniel McMillan.
Well, it's funny because McMillan and Anzalone really, Anzalone was hurt a lot.
Yeah.
McMillan isn't somebody we look back on and go, oh, that was an outstanding linebacker. But then you start looking at that era of linebackers that Florida had, and the guys who were in the 200 and 300 range really sort of stepped up. Jared Davis is the one that sort of jumps to mind in terms of middle linebackers who were just unbelievable players there, coming out of the Will Muschamp era. An interesting thing, I think, is that, look, Graham's at 30. The highest rating I've seen him anywhere else is 24/7, has him at like 62. So, you're looking at a surefire top 60 player, even for the ranking services that have him slightly lower. Hayes is actually an interesting case because 24/7 has him ranked 213th. Which means he's a 5-star recruit in just about every other ranking to be at 61st and 55th in the composite rankings for 24/7 and on 3. So, again, I think one of the things that's always interesting to look at is what is the spread when it comes to these guys, because that sort of tells you something about what do people think about somebody specifically. So always an interesting thing to look at those sorts of things. And then Chauncey Bowens, I mean, I believe it was a couple of weeks ago, Kirby Smart was helicoptering in to talk to Bowens and try to convince him to come to Georgia. And so whenever you're fighting for a running back that somebody like Kirby Smart wants, I think it's obviously a positive thing. But, look, I mean, Florida, it's no secret, Florida's defense was less than optimal last year. And a big part of that was linebacker play that was that was lacking at times, right? And Shamar James played pretty well for a true freshman, but if you're relying on a true freshman to be your third linebacker, I think you're gonna struggle when your other linebackers are limited. And so, really, what Florida's doing here with Graham and with Hayes is they're getting really, really much more athletic at the linebacker position. And you've even seen that with Taraja Mitchell and Deuce Spurlock and some of the other Jaden Robinson, the guys they brought in at that linebacker position. They are getting more athletic at that position. So, look, I mean, I love David Reese. I think he was a really good linebacker for Florida, but even then when he was giving them good middle linebacker play, he struggled, guarding tight ends and running backs going out into coverage. And these are guys who should be able to do that. 3-down linebackers. And I think that's sort of what you're saying when you look at the guys who are ranked this high. It's been a long time since Florida's had a 3-down linebacker at the middle linebacker. They've had guys who have been out there for 3 downs, but they haven't had guys who excel against the run and excel in coverage. And I think this is sort of, again, there's no guarantee that Graham's going to turn out. There's no guarantee that Hayes is going to turn out. But when you bring in 2 guys at that ranking, you're pretty much guaranteed that one of them is going to turn out. And so I'm anticipating that that one of these guys is going to turn into a star for Florida.
Will, it's like you knew where I was going next, but you really didn't. But look at this. So going back through Florida's history at linebacker, the top overall linebacker they've ever signed, Jelani Jenkins. Okay, I think he was pretty good. Number 2, Brandon Seiler. Oh, okay, I think he was pretty good as well. The 3rd highest linebacker Florida has ever brought in, Brandon Spikes, maybe one of the best linebackers Florida has ever had. That's your top 3. Guess who comes in at number 4, as I said? Miles Graham. So he's in pretty good company when you look at Florida's history at linebacker with Jelani Jenkins, Brandon Seiler, Brandon Spikes as your top 3, Miles Graham at 4. As you said, Alex Anzalone has really he's a better NFL player than he was a Florida Gator player. As you said, injuries just ate him up at Florida. I'm glad teams saw potential in him to go on to showcase his talents in the NFL. But, there's your top 5 linebackers in Florida history right now based off 24/7 Sports going back to, the early 2000s when they were able to keep up with these recruiting rankings. Florida had some really good ones in the 90s too. We know that. But, just since recruiting rankings have been in service here, Jelani Jenkins, Brandon Seiler, Brandon Spikes, Miles Graham at 4, Alex Anzalone. John Bostic was the 7th best. Shamar James was the 8th best. Wingo, 9th best. So you're still waiting for that breakthrough right there. Brendan Bill was the 10th best. Tyron Harper comes in at 11. So, but yeah, very good company. Miles Graham finds himself in behind Jelani Jenkins, Brandon Seiler, Brandon Spikes.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned Hopper and even Wingo in that list. I mean, obviously those guys were pretty high, but they weren't can't miss guys.
Correct.
Right. And I would say the same thing with Shamar James. Like he was pretty high, but he's not a can't miss prospect. And I think, look, not everybody's going to be can't miss, but as you're getting into the low 30s in terms of overall rankings, you're starting to talk about guys who can't miss, assuming they stay healthy. And so, look, Graham may not work out. Hayes may not work out. James may not work out to be a star, but the combination of those 3 guys is going to give you at least 1 star, I would think, out of the 3 of them. And that's why elite recruiting is important. It's not necessarily that Graham will be the star because he's the highest ranked guy, but it's not a coincidence, Dave, that you're listing all these guys who were 5-star candidates at linebacker. And, oh, look, they all went to the pros and they all made big contributions to Florida from that space. It turns out that these recruiting services, I do think that there's a lot of variability when you get to like 100, 200, 300, not just in outcome, but in terms of the rankings, right? That one service will have a guy ranked 250 and another one will have him at 125. Okay, well, you take that average, you're like 185. But still, I mean, one service thinks a guy's really, really good, and one service thinks he's sort of a fringe four-star guy. Who knows how that guy's going to turn out? But when you look at a guy like Graham, like just about every service thinks he's at least a top 50 or top 60 guy, and a bunch of them think he's a 5-star can't miss guy. And so you combine those things together and say, look, the recruiting in the 2024 class as a whole is better at Florida, and I think portends good things to come. But I think specifically at a position of need in a place where, look, if you're going to run simulated pressures, you need a guy who at linebacker can drop back and play in coverage. And if you've got guys who are going to struggle to play in coverage or struggle to come on the blitz or struggle against the run, you're going to constantly have holes that are open up for the offense. And that's a lot of what we saw, right? A lot of what we saw last year is you've got defensive ends and edge rushers dropping into coverage who just weren't comfortable doing that, and there would be a breakdown in the zone. Or you'd see linebackers who weren't in the right gap, and all of a sudden Florida gets gashed for a big run. And the more athletic you get for these guys and the more competition you can build at that particular position, the more you can take a guy off when he's not filling the right gap, or the more you can bring in a guy who's maybe more physically gifted in a passing situation. So Florida's getting a couple of good ones there at the linebacker position. I think people should be really happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked Lagway. We had an interview there with him, Miles Graham and Darius Hayes at the linebacker spot. Let's go to Chauncey Bowens right quick, Will, before we go in this episode. And hey, look, his 24/7 sports profile, 5'11", 219. Montreal Johnson, 5'11", 218. So if you're looking for a mold there for Chauncey Bowens, go look at Montreal Johnson, and that's about the mold you're getting. Now, of course, that's Bowens' high school profile, and he'll probably add some pounds on when he gets to the college level. But look at what he's looking like right now. You're looking at one Montreal Johnson, the current Gators running back. And the scout report there for Chauncey Bowens, look, he was the first commit in this class. He committed back in the fall. So, kind of going back committed early on and maybe got glossed over a bit, but a thick downhill runner, says Andrew Robbins of 24/7, with the vision and foot speed to produce big gains, measured just under 6 foot 220 in June of 2022. Figures to only add more mass in college, even though he's young for his grade, and already a bit of a workout warrior. Has multiple videos of him repping 225 on the bench. Does a nice job of quickly finding a hole and picking up steam. Can sidestep his way around would-be tacklers, but natural forward lean and powerful legs oftentimes have him seeking out contact instead of trying to avoid it. Doesn't have an extensive background in pass protection, but could become a quarterback's best friend on third down, given his size, as he should be able to chip twitched up Power 5 edge rushers or slip out into space. He averaged 10.3 yards per catch as a sophomore. has dealt with a variety of different injuries since he's emerged on the recruiting scene as a freshman, which means durability could be an issue. However, has continued to produce at the varsity level against decent Sunshine State competition and has 8 100-yard game to his credit. So this was back in the summer. So, of course, he added to that this past fall. Should be viewed as a bigger change of pace back that can move the sticks in the red zone or in short yardage situations. Promising track profile, multiple sub 11-second times in the 100-meter dash, including a 10.98. Make him a threat to find the end zone anytime there's a crease in the defense. So sounds very similar there, Will, to what we expect from a Billy Napier running back.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Yesterday, I posted a video on Instagram. My colleague Nick Knutson, he had gone to the South Carolina game last year, where ETN busted that big run up the right side and went all the way for a touchdown. And that's sort of what I was thinking of when you were talking about this, right? That Napier's offense is designed: put your foot in the ground, go. Right, that when you get that crease, can you get through it? Can you beat the safety to that crease, and can you get to the end zone? And that's actually one of the criticisms I think that you can have that's a legitimate criticism for Montrell Johnson is he broke a bunch of explosive plays, but the explosives were like 20, 25, 30-yard runs, not the 80-yard runs, right? And ETN was able to hit that 80-yard run on the crease. And some of that is what the defense was doing. Some of that is the motion that got the defense out of position. But some of that is that ETN has some special abilities as well. And so I think Bowens, especially with the track background, but still being 220 pounds, maybe gives you the best of both worlds, right? That you're going to get that crease, somebody who can take it to the house, but you're also going to have a guy who can lower his shoulder. And the thing that's most encouraging to me is that he's catching the ball out of the backfield. So again, when you think about what Florida is going to try to do, what Napier wants to do, and what they really didn't do very well last year,
correct,
is there are times where you just have to dump it off to your running back because the defense is giving you 5 or 6 yards. And all of a sudden you're 2nd and 3 because you decided not to take a shot downfield where it was a difficult throw, and you dump it off to your running back and let him go. Now, it's a lot easier to do that if you've got a running back who's got some wiggle, who every once in a while you drop it off to him, it turns into a 35-yard gain, right? And that's one of the ways you end up with a quarterback who ends up with a 65 or 70% completion percentage is he's willing to check it down to his running back and hit that, right? But look, if you check it down to your running back and you get 3 yards because he can't juke anybody and he's not fast enough to get to the edge and those sorts of things, then you start going away from it. And look, I don't think that's the case last year, but I think it's a good thing to say. One of the things we said last year was if you're going to have Naquan Wright in the game, you got to get the ball to Naquan Wright. And once they decided, or once they just weren't able to get the ball to their running backs consistently in the passing game, then Wright became somebody who sort of got phased out. So, so it's good to hear that he's somebody who can catch the ball out of the backfield, that he's been able to make big explosive plays through that. And look, I mean, the competition level in Florida, he's in one of the lower divisions, I believe. And so that I think hurts him in some respects. Obviously, you mentioned the injuries. That hurts him as well. But whenever you got a track star who's 220 pounds, who's playing running back, that's not somebody that the defense is going to want to get in front of in the first quarter, let alone the fourth quarter. But I think I think Napier at some point is going to want one of those wins where he just hands it off to the running back with 6 minutes left, and all of a sudden the clock's done and Florida wins. And, they're able to hold on to a 1 or a 2 point lead because they handed it off to a running back. Bowens is a guy who can sort of get them in that mold where you can envision a scenario where he's going to be able to pound the rock in that capacity. But then again, if you give him a crease, can he take it to the house?
Yeah, I am interested to see, given him and his profile, mentioned the passes to the running backs there. And I started going back a little bit and say, hey, what was the big thing from Billy Napier going from year 1 to year 2 at Louisiana, and now maybe what we can apply to year 1 to year 2 at Florida. And he had Trey Regas and Elijah Mitchell at running backs there, and those guys got the ball out of the backfield through the passing game a good bit, more than what we saw last year, as to your point, Will, of the running backs catching the ball out of the backfield. So something I'm looking forward to, but it looks like Bowens, the staff identified him to be able to fill that role when he gets on campus as well. So, all right, there we go, Will. That's how we turned the page from the class of 2023 to 24, getting DJ Lagway here on the show, looking at the current commits. And then next week, I'll go ahead and put it out there. I know we did this last year. We'll start taking a look at the board for 2024 a bit. But, hey, look, last year, there was only one commit in the class, so we had to pretty much fill every position. We're going through looking at a board for 2024 or 2023 class. Now we go for 24. I mean, we can peak at quarterback there. I know we got our guy, but could Florida bring in two quarterbacks? Probably not likely, but we'll see where that goes. And then linebacker got two in the fold as well. Could throw another name or two there as well, Will. But we'll go full head of steam to class of 2024 next week.
Draw that 150-mile circle around Gainesville and start. We'll be prepared to tell you what the class would be if he's able to get everybody that he wants in that range. And look, I think Lagway hit it best. I mean, Florida is making strides on the defensive side of the ball. The 2023 class was very heavy on the defensive side of the ball, especially on the defensive line, interior defensive line. 2024 class is bringing in linebackers who are going to be able to fill that. Now the place I think they need to add elite talent is there on the offensive line up front. So it'll be interesting to see who's in the state of Florida, who their targets are, and I'm sure we'll enjoy talking about that next week.
Yeah. So been working on the list. I think I've about got it complete, Will. So I will send it your way in the next day or so we can kind of get a head start on that a bit. But I enjoyed doing that last year. And on Gators Breakdown Plus, we did the exercise. Somebody asked me, it was like, hey, how accurate was that? I was like, it wasn't bad. It wasn't too bad. So I'll go through it again. That was kind of a quick glance that I did, but a lot of the names Florida ended up with were on there. Some guys were not, like a Kelby Collins. I was like, he's in the state of Alabama. Wasn't really looking, this was a year ago, very early class of 2023. So, of course, there'll be names that we won't even bring up next week that will be in the class. But a lot of them will be. Yeah,
I mean, look, recruiting is about hope. Recruiting is about where do you think your program's going? And that's one of the cool parts about having a guy like Lagway in the fold, having a guy like Graham in the fold, having the 2024 class sit where it is right now is that if Napier can maintain that momentum, then it's building hope into the program. And last week we were talking about the 2023 class. And I think one of the things I said was, if people want to be patient with Napier, you got to understand where you're at, because then you got to know where you got to go. And so thus far, this 2024 class is in the position where we want to go. You got an elite quarterback, you got a 5-star guy, you got a borderline 5-star guy, you got 2 big time linebackers, and you got a running back who fits your profile. So, obviously there's a lot of work to be done because you only got 4 guys in the class. But and there's some work to be done because they've only got 40 guys over the last 2 classes, right? And so this one I do think needs to be 25, 26, 27 guys that they're bringing in from the high school level. But I mean, you can't complain thus far because it's about as good as it could be with 4 guys in the class. And so we'll see where that goes. But I'm very, very encouraged to see what's happening for this 2024 class. I think Florida fans should be as well.
All right, so a lot of names and a lot of storylines coming at you next week on Gators Breakdown for the class of 2024. Once again, big thanks to DJ Lagway for joining us right here on Gators Breakdown. Will, what you got coming up?
Yeah, so I'm going to, obviously the Athletic article came out with the Rashada details. I'll have something about that. And then, I had been researching for the interview with DJ. I didn't have a chance to get anything out, but I'm going to have something on him so people can see some of the things that I'm seeing on the film and the stats as well.
All right. Head to readandreaction.com, YouTube, Read and Reaction there. Catch him and Nick Knudsen there on Stand Up and Holler. Will Miles, you can find him on Twitter at Will Miles SEC. I'm the host of Gators Breakdown, David Waters. You can find me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for joining us on this episode of Gators Breakdown.